meeting to order. If please stand and have pledge allegiance read or said by our students for fly now. Have them go forward. Ms. Finch, can you tell us who the kids are?
These are our student council representatives. This is Peyton, Charlotte, Macy, Brady, Charlie, Ryan, Charlie, Hayden, Allie, Ellie, Chase, Jalen, Trell, Carson, Grayson, and Nick.
Awesome.
And this is Mr. Henningsen, the student art teacher representative.
Lead them this way. Or
Right this way, we're going to make a big circle.
Thank you for coming out here. I'm not a fan, you know. Thank you for coming. There you go. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Line up, guys, here. We'll take a quick picture, okay? These are photographers.
Guys got to stretch.
Got to squeeze tighter?
Hey, take a picture.
All right, we ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for coming. Okay. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion, please?
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we approve the agenda with the following amendments. Item, basically 1 through 3. Do I need to read those? Can I read those? Add item C1, recognition of Garden City Public Schools for receiving the Garden City Police Department Community Service Award during the city's Diversity Breakfast on October 5th. It was presented by Albert Cobb, USD-457 Burmese translator on behalf of USD-457. Item 2, move to change item H1, City of Garden City Sales Tax Presentation, to C2, presentation on countywide sales tax issue. And number 3, add additional classified and certified personnel actions for consideration. Item
Thank you, Mark. Is there a second? Moved by Mark, seconded by Gene. Further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. public comment? Okay, thank you. Steve, are you gonna do the next one?
Yes, sir, thank you. So Albert, you want to come forward, please? Last week, we were fortunate to be recognized by the Garden City Police Department as a district for the work that was done in October of 2016, when some out of county, out of city people plotted to do harm to 2 apartment complexes up on Mary Street, and the police department was very complimentary of the response of the community. The district was able to help out in large part due to Albert's efforts to provide support to the families in those apartment complexes, and so it was quite an honor to be recognized by the Garden City Police Department, and we know we have a gem in Albert. He's a first-class guy, and he's the kind of guy we want to have on our team. So the award was given to the school district. We wanted to make sure the board was aware of it, and we wanted to take the opportunity to recognize Albert for the great work that he does in our district and in our community. So thank you, Albert.
Hear a lot of good things about you, so it's a pleasure to meet you. Very nice. And our second order of business is a presentation on the countywide sales tax, given by the city manager, looks like.
Yes, sir.
Tough.
Is this how this works?
Looked like you've driven one of those before.
A couple of times. I've driven this one too. I'm surprised I've forgotten. Thank you for having all of us. In addition to myself, we have some staff members and other representatives from the city and county here. On November 7th, 2017, voters will be asked to authorize a 0.3% sales tax to fund improvements for Jenny Barker Road, a 3rd fire station, an indoor gun range, and 3 improvements to Lee Richardson Zoo. So, before, I guess I'd like to just draw your attention to the ballot language. This says what I just told you. It's ballot languageese, but it allows for both the financing of the construction of the road, the construction, operation, maintenance, and equipment of a 3rd fire station, more on that in a little bit, and the construction and operation of the indoor shooting range, and then the ongoing improvements at Lee Richardson Zoo. Those are 3 projects, and I'll describe those to you. So this is how the ballot will appear on November 7th, or on early ballots beginning October 18th. So let's talk a little bit about how we got here. As you are likely aware, the City of Garden City uses a capital improvement planning process that gives residents and commissions a long-range view of projects that may be necessary over the next 5 to 7 years. Projects are often suggested by the community, and each project's importance is ranked annually by volunteer committee members. The CIP strives to create a balance between immediate needs and long-term needs to accommodate steady growth. Each of these projects listed in this ballot issue has come up through the CIP process, and in fact, I would say their common thread is that they are the highest ranking projects that are clearly defined. The only exception to being airport terminal, which was in consideration and maybe in Q&A about that. I'll talk a little bit more about that. But these are the highest ranking projects that aren't otherwise funded through our bond issuance or our regular annual department budgets. So let's dive into each of these projects a little further, starting with Jenny Barker Roads. Over the past few years, you've probably recognized that Jenny Barker Road has become a bit of a bypass to the bypass. This project would transition Jenny Barker Road between Shulman Avenue and the intersection with Kansas Highway 156 from a 2-lane rural road to a 3-lane urban road with a left turn lane and sidewalks. The sales tax would also provide funding for the signalization at the the Kansas Highway 156 intersection. The next project I'd like to speak about is the 3rd fire station. Now, this was a project that was on the books in the late 90s, and in fact the City Commission committed to this project in part in September of 2000 when it purchased some acreage at the intersection of Shulman and Jenny Barker Road. 3 months later, the community would take a hit in the ConAgra fire. The population over the next 2 years would drop about 5,000. The need for expanded fire service fell off, but the city was optimistic that someday our growth would return, and that since our infrastructure was built to the east and the north, that hanging on to that piece of land still made sense. Indeed, that's what's happened over the last several years. Our population has exceeded that 2,000 mark, the mark established in 2000 of 30,000. We're now at about 31,400 residents in Garden City. Furthermore, the developed part of the county immediately around Garden City is much more populated than it was 17 years ago. Therefore, the need for the 3rd fire station, an additional emergency medical services site, and a police substation is present. This would address those issues. The 3rd fire station in the proposed ballot issue would open in 2024, and construction will begin a couple years before that. This is the last piece of the project. So the other projects would be pay as you go in the first 5 years. Then we would bond for the last 2 years of the sales, of the life of the 15-year sales tax, construction and equipping of the 3rd fire station. And the difference between what the sales tax yielded and what the debt service was would be used for the operation, which in 2017 dollars would probably be in the $800,000 a year range. 3rd project is an indoor gun range. The current indoor range was built in 1967 and is deteriorating. The air filtration system and structure at the current indoor range is inadequate. Can lead to overexposure of lead, and in fact has with exposure to the range for extended periods of time. The new range would have 8 shooting lanes, classrooms, restrooms, office space, and a quality filtration system. It would provide for a versatile environment for tactical training, also be available to the public. Other users, Garden City Community College criminal justice classes, Sand and Sage Rifle and Pistol Club, and then also we've had a relationship in the past with the JROTC Air Rifle Club, or JROTC, who uses their air rifles. The final project is actually 3 projects at the zoo. We'll take these one at a time, starting with the animal health facility. During the zoo's recent inspection by AZA, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, who accredits facilities, and we're one of 200 in the nation, recognized that our animal clinic and our animal health facility was too small. The current one was built in 1980, and since then the standards of veterinary care have just quite simply outgrown the current facility. It would have a dedicated surgery room. Right now, there's sort of a one room, and if you're doing surgery, it's the surgery room. If you're doing some evaluation, it's the evaluation room. If you just need stuff stored, it's the storage room. So this would actually have different rooms used for different medical purposes. It would create a sterile environment for the procedures that each animal undertakes. Developing plans for this facility was a top-rated zoo project of that capital improvement committee I mentioned earlier, and has been part of our zoo master plan since as far back as 2008. The next project is the primate habitat. Also during AZA accreditation, this was viewed as small and outdated, not providing the best of atmospheres for either the primates or the animal caretakers. A new facility would be built in the style of Cat Canyon or Kansas Waters as they evolved their exhibits. So remember, Cats of America changed to Cat Canyon. It was a much more immersive style and provided a better experience for the patron and a much better experience for the animal. The last project is the flamingo habitat, also recognized as small and outdated by AZA. A new flamingo space would improve on some thrown together solutions for the flamingos' health, which their foot health is pretty important and has to be immersed almost the whole time. And our zoo keepers have done a really good job of making some accommodations with what we have, but it would certainly be the zoo's desire to develop a much more suitable environment and one that allows the visitor to enjoy the color of the flamingo and the presence of the flamingo. And this would be oriented towards the 5th Street, I believe, entrance exit there, just in between the Historical Society and the Phillips Center. Critical points, I guess, for the purpose of your board and anybody watching on TV, the last day to register to vote is October 17th. The early ballots begin October 18th, and voting at the ballot box takes place on November 7th. I'd be happy to answer any questions or have someone who's in attendance from the city or county help answer them if I can't.
Could you just clarify again, Matt, the location of the third fire station? Is it 56 and
Jenny Barker Road and Shulman Avenue, that intersection would be the northwest corner. Right now it's a
fairly
completely...
close to the one on Mary Street. Is that going to serve a completely different?
It is.
Okay.
And in fact, two years ago, I think, maybe a little less, 2 years ago, the city did another fire study. So we had one on the shelves that showed the ideal location of the third station given its relationship between the two we had, Labrador or Marion and Fleming, and then the Central Fire Station on 8th Street. And based on that, the city selected the Shulman Jenny Barker roadside and closed on it in September of 2000. When we went back to this fire service study a couple of years ago, we asked a slightly different question. We said, if you were to build 3 fire stations, where would you build them? We were in the midst of looking at Central Fire Station saying, this thing was built for a volunteer fire department. Do we even want to hang on to the one we have long term, or do we need to begin thinking about transitioning to 2 other stations, and then the third station would eventually replace the Central Fire Station? Well, at that point in time, the Central Fire Station was ideally located. So that caused the commission to decide to go ahead and invest in more appropriate lodging for full-time staff. Mary Street, if you were going to slide one, you could slide Mary Street a little bit further west, but still, lights and sirens, 4-lane road, you can make up active things pretty quick. But that independent out-of-town assessor of sites really liked that Shulman Avenue and Jenny Barker Road side. Actually kind of praised the commission in the late 90s and early 2000s for recognizing that and securing that property when they did.
Well, there's no question we're growing that direction, so it makes sense, and I'm glad that we have a long-range facility plan in place in the city. We know from a district how important that is as it's time to replace some roofs and some carpets and things like that. It's good to plan ahead, and it looks like you've done a great job doing that, and you've done the research to figure out where our dollars would go farthest, so I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you, I'll pass that along.
Further questions?
Thank you.
Next 3 or 4 years, aren't we due to see a reduction in the county sales tax? Is there something that comes off? So,
Horse Thief Canyon is a countywide sales tax, actually 4 countywide sales tax. I think it's set to expire, should be in our Q&A if it's not.
It's not in there.
In 2021, 2022, I think it expires. Then I believe that there's a county and a city one in that first 5 years of the 2020s that both of them sunset, but both of those are for at least the cities. I mean, the cities is for property tax stabilization and for local matches towards transportation projects, I believe is how it's worded, which is pretty critical general fund funding. It's likely that we would seek reauthorization of that when it comes due.
the horse meat won't go away 2021.
Yeah, and if anything else would come back or try to come in its place, it would have to go to the voters, just as with any of the sunsetted sales taxes, including this one 15 years from now. If it were to be reauthorized, it would have to clearly define whatever its new purpose was, because you wouldn't go back and do these 6 projects over again. And it would have to get more approval.
Okay.
For the shooting range, is it gonna be in the same, it's like would replace the current facility, so they're just gonna tear down the current
Well, we
facility?
are gonna tear down the current facility because one of the walls holds up the city's public water supply. So that's, we're gonna keep that one close. Yeah. The new side, the side of the proposed range, and this is old Highway 83. There's an old landfill, so the city owns that property as well. It's an old Highway 83. If you're leaving town on Main Street, it's the right after we turn the sagebrush, and then it goes down part of the way towards Reed Cattle. It's property off to the left. I believe we have a couple of buildings that we use for storage on site, and this would replace that off to the east of Old Highway 83.
So will that range be open all the time? Because you said there would be other people who use that, or?
It would have a schedule, just like other public facilities, but it is intended and being designed for use by other groups or other people other than just law enforcement or Garden City Police Department. So use by other agencies. We absolutely intend for there to be public access. That public access is likely to be controlled, fee-based or schedule-based. And we would, at this point, lean towards doing that through a contracted third party rather than getting in the business of operating a gun range for public use on our own.
Other questions?
Thank you for having
City
us.
manager, appreciate it.
Good to see you, Mayor, Mr. Board President. Once a mayor, always a mayor. Someone once
That's
told
what
me.
we said. Okay, that brings us to our consent agenda. Is there a motion for that, please?
Sure. Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Barb, seconded by Jane, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Further discussion?
I want to say something. just think it's notable. It almost goes without being said, but I want to say it, that there's so many instances where the public supports USD-457 children with contributions in a variety of ways. And I think in the consent agenda, we certainly recognizing one from Dylan's. And that just makes the community work. It's greatly appreciated. This one's over $5,000 and just donated supplies to the classroom. And I think it's noteworthy, and I just wanted to make a couple of comments just how worthy and great and special and appreciated that is. And so I want to get that out there. I'm going to try to list all the people that donate because there are many, but we don't want it to go unsaid and just be quietly consent agenda without at least making that comment. So.
Thank you, sir. Further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That brings us to curriculum reports. First off is our truancy report, Erica Vargas.
Yes, we have Erica Vargas and Steve Morgan from Garden City High School.
Okay. Thank you.
Attendance is always a concern for us at Garden City High School. We recognize that while students aren't in class, you can't learn. It's hard to learn. In the past, we've utilized kind of a model for addressing truancy that was a little bit reactive, resulting in an unnecessary number of students and families who enter the legal system as a result of their attendance issues and essentially jam up court dockets with truancy cases that sometimes took a long time to be heard. Last year, we brought on a new truancy officer, Erica Vargas, who had a great deal of background with not only youth services but our legal system, and she helped us install a new approach to truancy issues that partners with our families and our county attorney's office to hopefully do some work with families before they end up in the court system. And so I'll turn it over to Erica to explain our procedures.
So last year was my first year as a truancy officer for USD-457, and it really gave me the opportunity to work with our local judges, county attorney's office, and principals on how we could create a more efficient truancy process. Prior to this, the truancy process length was very lengthy. It could take up to a year before a student was seen in court for truancy. So this new truancy process really gave us a way to work closer with families on addressing the students' barriers by utilizing some of the services currently offered at GCHS. It also created an immediate impact on a student's attendance. So the schools that I currently serve are Garden City High School, the alternative, and the virtual school. Yes. So again, the old process, basically when a student was classified as being truant, they would immediately get referred to the county attorney's office. The issue that they were having is that due to the amount of affidavits that their office was receiving, made it difficult for them to keep up with the filings. So it could take them a while before they were seen in court. Once a hearing was scheduled, some of the stuff that they would order is the Y-Tri class, a DCF assessment, and if a student's attendance was improved, then the case was dismissed. So the new truancy process, again, gives us the opportunity to work closer with families. All that a judge would typically order at a hearing is now outlined in a contract. This program gives the school district an opportunity to make every reasonable effort to improve a student's attendance by working with the student and the family prior to referring the case to the county attorney's office. So we currently handle our truancy diversion program. Once the student meets the criteria, the county attorney's office comes to the Garden City High School or the alternative, whichever school the student's at. The parent, the student, the county attorney's office, myself, and the academy principal all hold a meeting to determine the cost for truancy and discuss alternatives on how to improve the student's attendance. Now, the county attorney's office at that meeting will provide the student and the parent with the opportunity to sign the truancy diversion contract. And some of the services that are implemented in the contract are tutoring, check-ins, and of course, no unexcused absences or tardies, and the white tri class.
Miss, can I ask you one question?
Absolutely.
How do you determine who's truant? Who should be on this program, I guess?
So basically, a student is classified as being truant if they have 3 consecutive absences, of course, that are unexcused or unverified, 5 unexcused or unverified absences in a semester, or 7 in a school year. So that's how they're classified. And that's based on statute. So once the contract is signed, the student will remain on the contract for a complete semester. I usually monitor the student's attendance to make sure that they've completed the white tri class, to review the student's attendance, make sure that they're making academic progress. And during the course of the contract, I make continual contact with the parent to make sure that the student is making progress and address any concerns with the parent. So these were the number of affidavits that were filed in prior years. And as you can see, when we get down to 2016, 2017, we're nowhere near prior years. So.
Can I grab a picture of that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I don't know if this thing lets me
I
go
don't know
back.
if it'll go back, might
Yeah.
use the back arrow.
Okay.
That's worth it though, that's pretty impressive, that says a lot, wow,
Here we are.
good job. Wow.
I have a question on the virtual. We had no issues on virtual
No
last year.
issues on virtual. The only issues that we did have, again, we placed them on a contract. The virtuals contract is a little bit different from GCHS. Basically, what we did with those is we required the student to attend the lab to actually do work, and we monitored them there at the lab. So our truancy diversion results for 2016, 2017, we only filed 39 affidavits with the county attorney's office for the school year. 128 truancy diversion contracts were signed, and all affidavits filed with the county attorney's office were immediately scheduled for a hearing, and most were heard within 30 days. So,
Great.
yeah. Any questions?
Thank you.
I did have a question. How do the parents react? Do you find that parents are more involved now with this?
I feel that parents are more involved now because obviously no parent wants to end up in court. So whatever it is that they need to do to make sure the kid shows up to school, they're willing to do it. So,
Did you do anything physically there at the high school to help this?
I think a lot of it came from, we had a lot of services already being offered at the high school that a lot of people weren't utilizing. So I think that this really helped the program out a lot. And the county attorney's office making a presence at the high school and meeting with the parents made an impact as well. Yeah.
So how long have you been doing this program now? When was this
We
program?
just started last year.
Wow.
Yeah, last year was my first year,
Okay,
so.
so that's the dramatic
Yes.
difference there. You are the variable.
Can you go back one more time to, read back, where you want
Yeah.
to take a,
Sure.
I want to look at that graph one more time. Well, that is amazing. Thank you for your hard work.
No problem.
I think she's being very, very modest.
I think she
here
is too.
Because Mr. Nordby can probably attest to some of the specific things that she does, like track students down
Oh, yeah.
daily, has them check in with her every morning when they get to school. It's that one connection that often kids were lacking that she has created. So she's not giving herself any
No.
credit that's deserved.
She got the magic touch.
I would concur, and really it's, as Erica said, it's taking services and things that we already had and doing them in a different way, but also the cooperation with the county attorney's office, and that happened because of Erica's connection to the county attorney's office and taking a fresh approach, just walking into the building and thinking, what we were doing didn't make sense, let's try something here, let's try to do it in a different way. And so packaging what we're already doing differently. And then you got to give kudos to the county attorney's office too for being willing to send an attorney to the school and spend time there in a conference room meeting with parents, and it's been very well received by our parents, and we've gotten a lot of support from that we've made the effort to intervene before instead of waiting to fail and being reactive and, okay, now you're in the court system. Giving folks an opportunity to change course and just been really great for us, and I think Ms. Scott's absolutely right. Erica's not giving herself near the credit. It's the relationships, though. It's me walking by her board every morning when the students that are currently on these diversions have to sign their name on a board outside of her office every morning so they can check in with her that she knows they're in school. And it's just, they know that she's there, but it's also the supportive things. It's not just the punitive things of I'm on you. It's the Why Try classes that we've got at the school through Communities at Schools. That's a partnership with yet another agency, just packaging them in a different way. And a lot of credit goes to Erica and her thinking, this makes sense to me. Let's try doing this.
Yes. Do you have some questions about, like, have you determined, like, it says you determine the cause for truancy. Have you connected any factors, like, what seems to be the biggest reason?
I think it's a variety. I think we've got students that lack the transportation, so setting those services up. CityLink is amazing for us. Some of them might have a medical issue that we probably haven't worked or reached out on getting that medical documentation, so working with the family on getting that. It's a variety of things. Every student has some type of reason as to why they're not coming to school. Another one would be they weren't doing academically well. So last year, the cheerleaders really helped us out with the tutoring. They volunteered their time to tutor some of these students to get them back on track and get them motivated. So
every story seems to be different. Every story is different. We've got 2,000 of them at the school, and 2,000 different stories, but she finds a way to get a service for them.
Further questions? No?
Mechanically, is this a three-way contract between the county attorney, USD-457, and the student and the parent?
absolutely, yeah.